Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Jay Helms, and if you're new here, if this is your very first time discovering the W2 Capitalist, we as a W2 Capitalist are here as a resource to help you and your family build wealth through real estate investing while working a full-time job, raising kids. You probably hear mine in the background. While working a full-time job so that you and your spouse can spend more time with your young and growing family. We're also here to help you create a bigger nest egg and gravitate you toward building generational wealth that you can pass on to those kids of yours, right? Today's episode is with Miss Julie Holly, and I got to tell you, no offense to everybody who's been on the podcast so far, by far the best episode to date, right? Let's get into this amazing content. Let's go. Julie Holly, amazing person after the conversation I just had with her. She helps people like you find their freedom through multifamily real estate investing so that they can live the life of their dreams, right? She's invested in single family homes, house hack before it had a name, managed properties from 1,000 miles away, and passively invested in multifamily assets. Her podcast, Ask Me How I Know, is focused on fueling the mind and soul through weekly interviews with industry leaders, as well as a mindset episode that she releases every week. In addition to serving investors, Julie uses her skills to write grants for nonprofits to grow their reach. Freaking amazing cause. Anyway, let's bring her in. This is so awesome. Julie, welcome to the show.
Wow, thanks for having me, Jay. I'm glad to be on your show. I've been listening to it and loving. It's like a candy store.
I thank you. I appreciate that. I may cut that little clip out to use as a marketing. So Julie Holly is with us today, and Julie, we've got a lot of things we're gonna go deep today. If you're listening to this or if you're watching this, Julie dressed up. If you're listening to this, Julie dressed up. I did not. I'm in my normal t-shirt and shorts, right? So Julie, you look very nice. Thank you for dressing up. As all the stuff that I've seen, you look fabulous, right? So, but we're going to go deep today. We're going to talk more about emotions and stuff that guys like myself don't typically talk about. But to establish some credibility, let's talk about your real estate investing experience to date, right?
Awesome. I love it. By the way, I have to tell you that I have to be in long sleeve sweaters right now because in far north Idaho on the Canadian border, we have snow. So I'm like, I can't take any credit. It was kind of forced, like, hey, you better put a sweater on or you're going to freeze out in your little studio.
I got you.
Yeah. Hey, so I began investing in my early 20s, and my dad pushed me to make my very first purchase. And it was just a complete dive, toilet sinking into the subfloor, rat feces, cobwebs, like lead-based paint. It was just like fiasco upon fiasco, right? But it was like it is right now, tight market. But he was a residential agent. I was able to get in and get things done on the property. So fast forward, I kept that house, lived through, so I kind of house hacked, like lived through that whole remodel process. Yeah. And that was really fun as a single person. And then I kept that. And then my husband and I, after we got married, we moved to Denver, and we are like, every time we have a house, we're just going to live within our means. I highly recommend that. And we're going to keep our houses, and we'll just kind of acquire this little portfolio of homes. And so here we are in Denver, and that was our first rental. So that nice. Was in California. And then we kept that. And this is kind of crazy. So we had to learn a lot of things the hard way. I'm going to fast forward this. I won't be too long, but we sold it before our first child was born because we were nervous. And a lot of people make mistakes because they're nervous about things and they want to protect themselves. And we were new at this. We had nobody else there weren't podcasts back then. We didn't have any mentors in this investing. We were like the guinea pigs in our family of going about this practice. And people thought we were crazy, because, hey, everybody gets screwed over if they're a landlord or lord.
That's right. Yeah, it's a misnomer for sure.
Right. So, we were the risk takers. We did that, and we sold right before the 2008 crash. Like literally, we sold that property, cashed out, and like 6 months later, that property that sold for $230 was selling for $110. So crazy.
So you could say luck was on your side, or which I'd love the humble, hey, we didn't know what we were doing. We just ended up
We
selling it, and you
out
guys,
of fear. I really want to be
yeah.
clear because we've made some poor choices and learned the hard way because we made fear-based decisions and we lacked that infrastructure of having mentors in our life. And we've learned from that. And the learning is, okay, surround yourself by the right network, surround yourself by people who know what they're doing. And we have a commitment that we actually have a quote and we remind each other, no fear-based decisions. And every
I
investor has
love
to
it.
adopt that. Like, actually just adopt
That's
that in all of
awesome.
life because it'll trash your life. Anyhow, we picked up different homes along the way. We've done tons of remodeling, and just kept them. And at one point we left California. We had places in California, in Denver, sold off in the single family because we knew, like everybody, Jay, can you finish the sentence? It's just not
I love this.
scalable.
Oh,
It's just not
scalable.
scalable. It's just, we really don't want to have this over here and this over here and that. And we don't want to do that. There's got to be a better way. And
There are a
that's
lot
for
of people
me.
that will argue with you, and there's going to be a lot of people on your side.
And I won't lie, I'm looking at a 40 unit single family portfolio right now.
I,
It cash
yeah,
flows and they're all together. I mean, like, really, investing is about what makes sense and what cash flows. But, ours were scattered about. And for us, we're like, we just really, if we're going to do single family, like, we'd rather have them clustered
and
together where it makes sense.
yeah, and everybody's investing criteria is different, right? And I think I am super conservative, especially when it comes to multifamily, because when I get into multifamily, it's going to be other people's money, right? And I don't want to lose my
Gosh.
money. I don't
Yes.
know if I want to. I don't know what I want to do more. Do I want to not lose my money more than my investors, or I would be okay? I don't know if I'd be okay
Oh
with losing my
no.
money as long. I don't
I
know
have
which
a
one.
hard I have a hard answer on that one because so
It's the
like
investors, right?
I never, if you lose your investor money, Jay, you just
You're
fired yourself
done.
for
You're
life. You
done. You're
fired
done.
yourself. I keep telling
Done.
one of my mentors in my life that I'm like, I don't want to fire myself. Like,
And it's not the sense that I get that and I completely agree with you, but at the end of the night, which one's going to bother me the most, right?
oh,
And
I
I'm
can't
like,
sleep. Oh,
luckily
could
I've
you
never had to
sleep
do
lose
it,
it?
but that's
Yeah,
that's
I know.
why
Could you sleep? Oh, I couldn't sleep losing somebody
no,
else's money.
I don't know. I sleep
Because
pretty
I can
hard. But
rebuild my own money. I
that's
can
true.
rebuild myself, but I don't have, somebody else puts their confidence in me to take care of their money and they trust me. And I don't know that they can rebuild that money. Like, some people, they're
It's true.
saying, hey, here's my 401k. I work at this job over here. And this
Still,
is a
yeah.
big,
Yeah,
you and
and
I,
it
we could probably go out and rebuild.
yeah, yeah. And I'm not saying it's not going to bother me. It's going to bother me. I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, it's severely going to bother me. I'm going to get a few more gray hairs in my beard. Just trying to figure out which one's going to be bothering me most, and it's probably going to be my investors because, like you said, that's kind of like the death sentence right there, right?
It is.
Um,
So I'll just, the final straw is that I discovered syndication and multifamily investing. I think most people in my life think that I'm absolutely crazy and we invest passively and we're moving into the active side, and a lot of that
yeah,
movement is about sleeping well at night, like never misleading or misguiding anybody, and actually having the ability to back up every single word that you say, and charting a trail. I always say that, like, it's really, in my opinion, really important to go to blaze the path. If you expect anybody to follow you, you better blaze the path first and know what's around the corner. I do a lot of like
mm.
outdoor extreme sports, like crazy mountain biking in the backwoods where grizzly bears are. And it's like, you got to know what's around the corner. You're not going to just take anybody out there.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, did you see the video of this guy? He was walking in this jaguar or cheetah or something like that came out. Did you see that video?
yes. Oh my
Dude,
gosh.
there's no like I would be screaming like a little girl. There's no way.
He kind of was. He kind of was.
Well, to me, that sounded manly versus the sounds that I know I would be making. Wow, big stuff. Hey, so you talk about at the very beginning, you said you lacked infrastructure that produced some fears, right? Fear of doing whatever. When you guys were looking at that property in 2008, whether you should sell it or whatnot, what was your biggest fear? What was one of those fears being if I followed the story correctly, you were about to be new parents, or you're already new parents, or what was the case there? What was the big fear, I guess?
Yeah, the big fear was the unknown. And that is a fear that a lot of people are even facing right now in 2020, is the uncertainty, the unknown, because everybody wants,
Mm,
especially new parents, new moms especially,
yeah.
want that security of everything's going to be okay. And although everything had been okay, I'm a bit type A, and our property manager had been great. There had been a vacancy that had been fine. We had reserves. We had everything situated just right. But, then I started looking at, well, what if this happens? And what if? Guys, what if is trash. It is trash for your
Yeah, it
mind.
is.
Just stay. The only what if I've decided I'll accept in life is what if good things happen? Like,
I
but
like
it's
that.
saying if you start going down the what if on the negativity, and that's what I did. What if we have a vacancy? What if she can't fill it because now the economy is trash? And what if we're on the hook and it's a recourse, because it was just a small loan and it's going to come back on us? And just the fear of what could this do to our life, instead of looking, and this kills me, instead of looking at my normal optimistic side of what if this turns out great, I looked at all the bad things that could happen. It was like I had my own ppm in my head, right? I didn't even know it. And I'm like, I looked at all the sideways situations and I reacted to things that weren't even happening.
Yeah. And most new investors do that, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head where you didn't have the supporting infrastructure to eliminate those fears, right? But how did you
Right.
get past them? I mean, obviously you guys sold the property and it was a good move for you because of what
Right.
was about to happen. You pulled out your crystal ball and you're like, dude, hubby, we got to sell this thing. But how did you, like, you got past that and you saw the downturn happen. How did you get past that and then start actively investing again, right? Whether it be passive or to this point where you're looking
Yeah.
at a 40 unit portfolio.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I look at all sorts of I'm becoming a little, I love underwriting, which is crazy. If anyone knows me, they'd be like, who is this person?
They don't know you well enough then, right?
And I know I've turned the corner. No, okay. But what happened? We're both, my husband and I are both risk takers that complement each other. So he says, John Acuff has this book, Start. I highly recommend it to anybody.
Oh yeah.
And you've read it
I've
or listened?
almost every book that he's read. I actually have his finished 2021 calendar right here on the wall, and with like 6 months of it already filled up. So
That is
yeah.
so cool. Okay, so I just think he's absolutely fantastic. My husband is re-listening to Start right now, and so he's like, I'm the wow person, the like, wow, this could be so great, and he's the how person, like, how are you going to do this?
Gotcha.
And
Yep.
but we are both willing to take risks, and we trust each other enough. And we knew what we wanted, and since things hadn't gone sideways with that investment, it was about, okay, we can do this. And then we started seeing everybody buying all these houses and developing these portfolios after the crash.
Yeah.
People who had maybe more experience than us and everything. And we were totally like, how are they doing this? So that learning process of other people's money, but
Yeah.
it's a matter of supporting each other and trusting each other to take those leaps.
Yeah. And I think, what we're seeing in the market right now, there's a lot of that kind of what you described right there is the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out.
Right.
Um, but right now, I see a lot of newbies entering the multifamily market and buying up stuff. And I'm like, I mean, everybody has different experience levels. I'm just when I label somebody as a newbie, they have less experience than I do. Right.
Right.
And it's just interesting on what they're paying for these properties. I don't even know how they're structuring the deals to make them work. But um, part of me for a while there, I was like, man, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? And back to the infrastructure, I started throwing some deals at people that I knew and trust and said, hey, underwrite this with me, or can you underwrite this? And then let's see what we come to a conclusion on. And for the most part, I was still a little more conservative. Again, don't want to lose people's money. Don't want to lose my own. Don't want to lose people's money.
Don't want to lose money. How about that?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, and so this happened very early on when I was starting very early, trying to start out and asking people, hey, if I brought you an opportunity, what would you, how much would you be willing to invest? And the question that came up over and over and over again as a trending topic was, how much are you investing? I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
So I can't just be the sponsor, like I've got to participate. And they were like, well, yeah, that tells me it's a strong deal. So every
You gotta have
deal
skin.
got to have
Skin in
skin
the
in the game.
game.
And there's ways to do that too without having cash. You can sign on the note for the loan, or be a guarantor or whatnot. And at that point in time, it's sometimes when you're the guarantor, you have more at risk than the investor, right?
Big time.
So what I've done, we've set ourselves up to always invest in every deal. So, um, and for that, anyway, I'm losing my train of thought of where I was going, but totally lost my train of thought with that.
You're talking about infrastructure.
Oh yeah, infrastructure. So that's one of the things that helped me get past. All right, I know what I'm doing, and I don't know what these newbie investors are doing, or what course they're buying, or what guru is telling them to do this stuff, because it is amazing to see some of the deals that are going down. And like, for example, there was a deal in, I said South Florida. I told some people it was in South Florida. It was near Tampa, so not completely south, kind of west, whatnot. And he was asking 1.9 for it. And we went down and looked at it just for other reasons. There was a hurricane coming, and we kind of just went to dodge it or whatever. And got back, started underwriting the numbers. Yeah, I'm at 1.1, and this guy bought it for 1.4 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, you can have it. Knowing
Yeah.
that probably next week it's going to go under contract for full ask. Right. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how people are doing it. And shifting strategies. You're looking at single family portfolio. I think I'm going to get into sub 2 deals. I think we're about to hit into, and I've never done that before. Talked to a guy last week who's on the podcast, William Tingle, who's had 20 years experience in it. And I'm like, all right, I'm signing up with you. I want to know more about this, which I think is important, right? And to be flexible and go with the market, and don't just bang your head on the wall. And because when I've done that, I don't know about you, but if I've done that before, I have forced the numbers to work on paper, and then we get into the deal, I have lost my own money. It's painful.
It's so you said so many things that I want to respond to. Oh my gosh. Like, just that concept of the FOMO. I've had that like all year long. I've had FOMO. And so I lost a deal. This is funny. So I didn't even know that one of my friends was submitting on a property, right? And come to find out, they have an accepted LOI, and I was coming in low because I'm
Mm,
like you. I'm like, okay, the economy's, we're coming to the
yeah.
flush out, all of this, like, be smart, be conservative. And so I'm sorry, I have a minor disruption. Hey, buddy. That's hilarious. My son just brought my
That's
kitty into
all.
my studio.
That's
Sorry.
awesome. It's
It's great. He's a
okay.
good kid. So I actually reached out to that friend and I said, hey, I am genuinely, this is a cool thing about this, about anything, depending on who you are. Like, I just don't care. I'm bummed I missed out, but I'm really excited for my friend. Like,
Mm,
I'm excited that she's growing her portfolio in this way, and
yeah.
everything. She and I went over her underwriting. I'm like, how'd you do it? How are you able to come on higher? And so she showed me, like, walked me through where she was able to make things work. And so
Mm,
next thing you know, I'm working over some other deals, working through this model, and then they throw in it's 27 units, but then you have 20 units that's modeled largely after the Airbnb model. And so
mm,
it's like, do I want to keep that? How am I gonna, do a rent
yeah.
schedule and phase things out and all, right? Well, anyhow, she and I were going over this because the broker kind of reached out to me and said, hey, if you could come in, maybe around, the list price was crazy stupid, like price per door for the market was twice as much market value, right? Traditional. So I'm thinking,
do you think we should just get, like, you and I could decide this, but in general, for general sense of the question, do you think we should just get rid of list price for multifamilies?
I think that, I mean, it would be nice, but the sellers can't handle it. The sellers have their egos into it. And the
So
sellers have to prove something to they've got to
they
prove
do.
something to their investors, like, hey, we just like quadrupled our money, in
Yeah.
in one
And I would
year.
be bragging about it too, but
I
the
know.
this came up the other day, and on somebody's post, or like, what gives the sellers the right to ask this much for their properties? It's a 3 cap in a D area or something like that. I was like, well, the buyers are giving them the right to do this because there's idiots and people out there who don't know what they're doing, and they're giving them this money because of it, right? And that's allowing them to do that. And
I don't
then
know, but the market decides.
that's what I'm
Ultimately,
saying.
the
The
market
buyers will,
decides.
the buyers are the market, right? And
Yep.
then when they do that, then that just sets the bar, right? And then
Right.
somebody else who has an ego problem, who doesn't want to be outdone by the other guy, says, well, if you can pay for that for the property, then I can go pay for that for the same property and get better returns. And it just keeps snowballing. And now we are where we are. And it's
But
nuts. It's
but
crazy.
wouldn't you say that that's part of the economic cycle of all
It
of
is.
this?
It is. It
Because
is.
it's like we're all going to
All
get
I'm saying is I
humbled
am
back
upset.
down.
I am upset that I didn't start investing in 2010,
Oh
and I'm
gosh.
regretting it now. That's what I'm getting out right now.
Hold on. Here's the thing. I have great news for you. Okay, Jay. It's
Yeah.
coming back. Okay.
You're right. You're right.
We're gonna have 2010 again, and we're going to pick up a ton of properties. And I always say, and I'm gonna bring a bunch of people with me when this
Yeah.
transfer of wealth happens this time. I now know, and now I'm gonna bring a ton of people up the ladder with me. That's my number one goal.
How are you going to do that?
I
How
am
are you going to bring people with you?
I'm proselytizing.
It is a new word on me. I may have to go Google that one if I can figure out how to spell it.
Yeah, I know, right? You're like proselytizing. Most people think of that in a religious sense of like you're trying
Yeah.
to convert somebody to religion, but you can proselytize anything. And I'm
You
just trying to get the word out there.
you have to get, because I've talked about this a lot, where the people that I worked with, when they found out what I was doing, I was like, look, I'm telling you, I've made more money in real estate than I did at my job last year, and this happened 3 years in a row. Are you curious about what I'm doing? Do you want to go have coffee? Yeah, no, not. All
It's
right, just keep grinding
crazy.
away here and building boss man's future. I mean, it's just one of those things of like, wow, okay.
I
But
just don't understand why people aren't at least, because I've had both, you come across everybody. And so it's
yeah,
like a lot of people though are like that. And I feel like they just have to keep kind of seeing what, we're doing and seeing it work out, because you have to break down what's been woven and embedded into
yeah.
their being of like, stock
Well,
market and 401k is only this way.
yeah, and that's the thing I got to keep reminding myself. I'm going through this coaching program now where it talks, helping people heal from, it labels what most people are working in, their misery and their job and whatnot. Now, if you have a good job, I'm not talking to you, right? And you love your job, you're passionate about your projects that you do and everything, that's something completely different. But people who are absolutely miserable, they have been indoctrinated from the time we start kindergarten, right? You're going to go to this building, you're going to sit in this desk, you're going to be told when you can go to lunch, you're going to be told when you can go home, and then you're going to take work home, right? In school, we call it homework, but at work, we just call it, well, I got to take work home, right? Or I got to work late.
That's really
So
true.
most people do 13 years of that, right? They start when they're about 5, get on when they're 18. And then if they're lucky enough, they get 4 more. And
I
now they're in
like that
debt.
you're like, if they're lucky enough. I'm like, ooh, sentenced to 4 more.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
College is good in the right instances. College is great. I happen to be a college grad with bonuses to that. So,
No, I'm a
but
college grad. I mean, I have an MBA, I have a bachelor's in computer science, but I don't think my kids are going to go to college. Like if it's my wife and I disagree on this, and I'm like, they're not, if they go, they're going to go to party and they're going to go have a good time. They're going to go figure out what life is all about. The education that you're going to get, and it's not going to be for, they're not going to pull a 8-year stint there, right? You're going to go for
right.
2 and I'm done. The rest is on you if you want to continue doing it, and that's on you. But it's not the education. I don't even know who said it. Might have been Mark Twain. I think you can throw out Mark Twain or Zig Ziglar in any quote, and everybody's like, yeah, they said it. But I think it was Mark Twain said, don't let a uh, formal school get in the way of your education or something like that. It was along those lines of
Right.
you don't have to go to a brick
Yes.
and mortar school and sit there and do the traditional way to get educated. And I look at all the money and not just the money, but the time that I spent going to school and chasing after this big corporate job. And, it was a bunch of time wasted. It
Well,
was,
so I can't agree with you more. And I always say it's hilarious because I spent 13 years as a elementary public school teacher.
I saw
And
that.
yeah, you're like, I'm gonna subtly see the back door. Let me bait Julie on this one.
No. I am not that. I'm not that clever.
I know. Well, I think you are that clever, but I don't think that you're ever malicious. No, but it's an interesting concept. And here I've done it all where I started out public ed teacher. I've homeschooled my kids. I went back to the public ed sector and put my kids in the program. And now I'm back to homeschooling my kids again. And the conversation in the Holly House has been, so we have a fourth grader and a sixth grader, but they've heard this for years, is it depends on what you want to do with your life. If
Yeah.
you are going to a profession that requires higher education, like you want to become a vet, because every girl at some point, if anybody has a daughter, at some point their daughter will want to be a vet. I don't know what it is. Like it's a girl thing, I think. Even if it's for like 2 days.
That's true. I haven't thought about that. Yeah.
So like, okay, if you want to become a vet or something that requires more education, that's great. But
Yeah.
here's
And you could be an
something
entrepreneur and be a vet, right? You can have your own clinic, set your own hours, all this good
yes.
stuff.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
The interesting thing is that there's been we have the wealth of information available to us that when you and I went to college, that wasn't available. Like YouTube wasn't around like that. I mean,
YouTube
just
University
the
did not exist.
I know Google did not exist when I was in college. I'm labeling myself right now.
Me either. Me either. I mean, we were on Netscape and AOL. That was the big thing then. If you remember that, if that was your era.
That's
So,
my era. Yeah. That's my era. It was like a new thing,
It
like, oh,
was.
there's this internet and you can only have a couple cited internet sites. That's it. I mean, still going up to the library, pulling down books and
That's fun. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so they have a different world, the
They
kids
do.
today, and different options. And so I think even if you say you don't have to go to college, you don't have to get education. It just means you can find another path. You can find an alternate avenue.
The holy cow
That will
is
get
more
you to where you
expensive
want to
now
go.
than when you went. Wow.
Well, that's like a huge inhibitor. I'm sure you've done the research. I did a ton of research on the millennials. Like the average millennial has like 30 grand in debt, just most people, they graduate college. And I think the average amount that I've seen on all the studies is like 30 grand. That's average. So it could be more, could be slightly less, but that's a huge amount. And that just slows you down and prevents you from taking the next steps you want in life.
Yeah. And a couple of weeks ago, I had Erica Colberg on. She's an attorney talking about her platform is about personal finance. And she paid off $225,000 in student debt in 2 years. Now, I pushed her on in the conversation. I said, well, it could mean that, we can make some assumptions that you're an attorney. You're making some pretty big bucks, right? So it's maybe not that big of a stretch to pay that off. She goes, this is true. She goes, but I will tell you that my clothes come from Walmart. To this day, they come from Walmart. She goes, I would not pay a $3 bus fare to ride the bus to work. I would walk, and it was a 30-minute walk. I was like, wow, okay. So you're talking about, she goes, everything in my apartment, or almost everything in my apartment, it was given to me or came off of some used site, right? Where she bought it at a discount. I was like, okay, so you're true to this. She goes, yes. She goes, you can do it. So, yeah. And when I came out of college, I was pretty lucky. I had some student debt, but it wasn't 30 grand. And my parents helped me out as well. So I'm very fortunate about that. But they did throw me this curveball of, because my brother is the athlete in the family, and all 4 years of his college were paid for athletic scholarship. And so I'm filling out documents, applying to Auburn University, all these big schools and stuff like that. And they found me doing this. It was my senior year. And they're like, well, so who's going to pay for your school if you get accepted? And arrogantly, I just look at them and I said, well, y'all are. They did that exact same thing. They just started laughing. They said, no. They said, your brother found a way to pay for his college. If you want to go, you do too. So I had to figure that out. And then they helped with room and board and stuff. But anyway, homeschooling your kids. So we are doing that. This is our first year. Our kids are now old enough. We've got a 6, 3, and a 1. And so we're doing that this year. Any tips or tricks for us homeschool parents?
Be patient. Be patient,
Okay.
but have a schedule. I think that a lot of what is taught is actually just teaching them some structure, and giving them I think that that's really important and helps kids thrive a bit, and knowing that this is when we're doing school, and this is, we do it for these 2 hours in the day, and then you're going to play and you're going to do this and this and this and all the fun and activities and the art and the whatever. But I think the best thing I did when my kids were little and we were homeschooling was we created a co-op, and it outgrew my house. And because I think learning in community is fun. Yeah. And this is one of the hallmarks, I think, of homeschool education, is that it replicates the real world better than anything else.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird if you don't really think about it, but you have kids of multiple ages working together.
It sounds weird if you don't think about it. What did you? I think you just said that.
Did I know, like, if you don't stop and think about it, this will sound weird, right? Yeah, I probably phrased that wrong. But like, you have all these people of different ages and different ability levels working together or learning together. And isn't that the real world? That was one of the biggest shocks I had when I entered adulthood, and even in high school, getting my first job. And I was working with, I was 15, working at the Foster Freeze. And I had people, that was my first job. It was awesome. And that will teach you when your long hair smells like French fry grease, you want to move up the ladder. So
that's good.
You work with people that are older than you or peers, and you're never working in an environment where it's all people. It's not ever a homogeneous group of people of the same age and same ability. And so it really teaches a lot of just natural empathy, compassion, ability to communicate amongst people of different levels. So we started out with like science and social studies as a co-op. I would say that's like my number one tip. Learn together.
Do a co-op. Cool.
We outgrew it.
Yeah.
We outgrew the house, and we went to a church, and the church gave us all sorts of building space to use. And it was huge. Okay. And then it continued on when our family left. We actually created a board. Yeah, it just, it's cool. You can do a lot of really neat things that live on. Once you might make changes, it can still go on beyond you.
That's neat. Yeah, we haven't, our church has been closed doors since COVID happened. But that's a good idea when things start opening back up, if and when they do, right?
Just start in your house.
Just start in our house. Yeah. Start having some kids over for sure. Of course, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we're not. Maybe we'll have it at somebody else's house. Maybe somebody else's house. You will hear mine scream from time to time here because they're they're just really loud, no matter where they're at in
That's
the house.
kids. They're living and having
They are.
fun.
You're exactly right, and I need to be reminded of that from time to time.
I think
Um,
everybody does. Yeah.
the one of the things I want to talk about is as an investor, as an entrepreneur, as a W-2 employee, we all face this, right? And it's self-doubt. Do I know what I'm doing for my job? Do I know if I'm going to say the right things on the podcast? Do I know, like for example, I'm not going to cut it out, but earlier I was like, if somebody's hearing this and they're like, Jay's not more concerned about losing my money versus his money, no way am I going to invest with him. I get caught up in the conversation. I say stuff I don't mean, or it just comes out completely wrong,
It comes
right?
off. It comes
And
off in
I
a
am
different way.
going
Yeah.
to beat myself up tremendously over that. I'm not going to cut it out because I don't ever really edit any of this. It's just authentic, but it's going to affect me from the next podcast I have. It's like, all right, idiot, don't say something stupid again. But we all go through this, right? And I'll look at opportunities where I want to invest in, and then I'll get ready to submit an LOI, and I stop. Right now, it doesn't happen. My confidence is building because I know so many people are telling me no because I'm so conservative in my underwriting. I'm just way off on the ask. So, and my thing is, if I do the work and I get my number, I'm going to submit an LOI. I don't care how
Yes.
different it is. Previous to being told no all the time, I was like, oh, if I submit this, what's going to happen next? What am I going to be able to raise the money? So it happens, right? How do you deal with self-doubt? Because you and I had a conversation, somewhat of a conversation on LinkedIn about even coming on the podcast. And you were like, I just don't know. Right. But you got past it. We're here, we're chatting. I'm making a fool of myself. But for those people who deal with self-doubt of even getting started, right, and investing or just having a conversation with somebody that they know that they're close to, I want to, I want to start investing in real estate. Some people listening to this may be like, I don't even want to have that conversation with them because I know what they're going to say. Right. How can we help them get past that self-doubt to just take that first step?
Yes. Wow. I have tons on that. Okay. First of all, I want you to know I have the exact same thing not every podcast episode I record, but there's so many times where we overthink.
Oh
And
yeah.
you just got to get out of our head. And I've been doing so much better over the last like 7-10 years on I can't go back and change it.
Mm,
And people will self-select. I like borrowing
yeah.
those words, right? People self-select who they want to be with, and people who know who I am and who are following me will know the heart and the message and my philosophy. So those people, they're gonna see right past that, and they're gonna know. I know that Jay didn't mean anything by that. I know
Yeah.
that. So I've kind of decided, like, you have to silence the naysayers. Like, they just can't be part of your life because they're in this the gallery, right? I can't even
Yeah.
talk now. But I think about it like this: like, if you're on stage or you're anywhere and you have these people and you don't even know them, and you're going to base your life off of what they're saying or what they're thinking, and then on top of that, you don't even know if that's accurately what they're saying or thinking. You're
Right.
playing all
You're
these
telling
messages in
yourself
your head,
that.
and like 99% of the time, that's not even what they were saying and thinking. And if you're in a marriage, you know that this is absolutely 100% true, because husbands and wives have these conversations, and it's like, that wasn't what I was thinking. My husband will tell me that all the time. I'll be like, well, it kind of, yeah. And so if you kind of just apply that across the board and say, okay, also giving people permission to speak into your life is not acceptable.
Mm,
Decide who you want to have speaking into your life. Know who your inner circle is. They've got your back, you've got their back. And if it comes to business, they are experienced and they have knowledge that is going to help support you. And they're only going to speak truth into you. And if your inner circle is not speaking those same truths to you, then you cannot grab, hold, or embrace any of those concepts. Like, you might,
yeah.
if you're kind of getting the same like chatter all the time, like, wow, Julie has too much personality. Oh, wow, she talks so much. Oh, then maybe I'm going to, then maybe I'm going to reflect on that and evaluate for myself and talk with my inner circle and say, hey, I'm kind of hearing this chatter and having
Yeah,
a dialogue about it to see what truth I can draw from that and if it's something that I need to address in my life. But we
you
give
will.
so much power to people that don't deserve any power in our lives. I think my
Yeah.
final note on that, Jay, is going to be uh, anyone who watches me for any period of time, you hear about my dad dropping dead. And that's been 5 years now. And
Mm.
he's my favorite, outside my husband, favorite human being on the planet, like the best person on the planet. Okay. The world lost a great one. All that to say, you realize when you lose somebody really close to you that uh, other people really don't matter.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me just kind of backtrack because you're not going to edit this. But when you see that, like, well, you're not going to cut and slice, but when you really know what's of value to you and what's of importance to you, you get to decide. And so now I have like tighter priorities in my life, and
Yeah.
I say no to more things. So that is saying no to people with they're welcome to their opinion of me, but it's not on me to even know. Like, it's not my business to know their opinion of me necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when it
Yep.
comes to business and I feel like an imposter, which is kind of what you were speaking to. So the audience knows, like, I'm listening to Jay's podcast and I'm scheduled to be on recording today. And I'm listening to all these amazing people. And I send him a message. And I'm like, Jay, I don't think I should be on your podcast because these people are like so amazing. And then you reassured me, like, we're just having a
Yeah.
conversation. It'll be helpful to people. So,
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And I heard probably the one of the best things dealing with this myself is I shouldn't care about people's opinion unless they are in your inner circle. And I'll give a little hint about that here in a minute. But unless it's somebody who I want to be in their position at some
oh,
point in
yeah.
time, whether it be financially or through relationships or whatever the case may be, I'm not going to go seek advice from this overweight fat guy who is going to tell me, hey, I'm not in shape because I'm not doing some sort of exercise. That's not going to land with me.
Right.
Right. But if the guy who has six pack abs and whatever, and he's telling me, well, you need to go do 75 hard, then I'm like, all right, I'll go check it out. Maybe. I don't know. It's just kind of lazy.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Okay.
But to people's inner circle, and this is really difficult for some people, and you kind of hinted on this, is, have conversations with them. Say, look, the 10 people you spend the most time with, make a list of them, go talk to them. Don't send them a text. Talk to them on the phone, get them in person, do a virtual Zoom or whatever, and say, look, I want to start investing in real estate, or I want to expand my portfolio. I want to shift from single family to multifamily. And if you don't get the most positive, reassuring feedback from that person, you need to start working them out of your inner circle, right? That doesn't mean you tell them off. That means you
Right.
just don't call them again, or your interactions with them are starting to be limited, right? So, um, very cool.
Definitely.
So, what kind of I skipped over this because I wanted to get there was some good nuggets in there, but you mentioned something earlier about doing extreme outdoor sports.
Oh, yeah. Right.
What are you talking about? What kind of extreme sports are we talking about here?
Right. Yeah. So remember the 1990s, 80s, and the sport emerged called snowboarding. No kidding. So to put things in context, I am one of four children. I'm the bottom, and I have three older brothers. So that kind of explains so
So
much about
you
me.
were well protected growing up.
Well, I always wanted to be and most people want this, right? People want to be included and they want to be invited, right? And
Hmm.
that's why we
Hmm.
worry so much about the chatter going on, because humans want community in large part. I wanted that community with my brothers, and so I adopted the sports that they adopted.
Gotcha.
um,
Okay.
and then I ended up finding a sport of my own. I ended up becoming an avid rock climber. I lived an hour and a half outside Yosemite Valley, which is amazing. Because it's literally world class climbing. And so I got to do world class climbing in Yosemite Valley. Anyone who knows anything about that knows that I got to live a dream, um, and meet some really amazing people. And actually got to work for Royal Robbins, who's like just one of the pioneers. And his
Okay.
wife was a pioneer woman in the sport. So even like right now in multifamily, you have these women that are now charting the way for other women to be really in this space in a more, prominent way. And
Okay.
so it's neat because I seem to be in these little parts of pockets where, women are just emerging, or I get to be around the women that paved the way. So it's super cool. Yeah, so I used to compete indoor rock climbing even, and got to be, that was powerful. And that will help going back to imposter syndrome. I was on, in competitions with people that you would see on the covers because I was competing in the open level. And, you'd be sitting in isolation and you're sitting next to somebody that you see on the cover of Rock and Ice or Climbing Magazine, and you're realizing, and this is like so powerful, when you realize that everybody is human,
hmm
like they eat, they drink, they pee, they do everything. It's just they're normal people. I don't mean to be crude, but it's like when
Yeah.
you realize everybody's just like a normal person, like she's just as maybe not just as nervous as I am, but she's really getting
Yeah.
in the zone and trying to focus on mindset and everything. So yeah, and then I got into mountain biking, and that's been my new favorite thing ever because we go on these epic rides that most people, we say, if you can hike it, we can bike it. And
Wow. Okay.
they're
All right.
they're just super intense. So you can check out pictures on my Facebook page. Like
Definitely will. Definitely will.
I see
I
glorious views.
bikes and I do not get along. I just
Oh, what happened?
I am clumsy by nature. I'm just by default I'm clumsy. So me and a mountain bike, no, I'm okay. Me and a bike doesn't really matter. Kind of I have a small anxiety attack thinking about getting on one
You could start
now.
on a stationary bike.
It's also it's like physical work, right? I've got to get my butt in shape. It's funny you're talking about rock climbing. I think I want a climbing rack that I can hang like right here above my door and get like I have a horrible grip. My son's kind
All
of
right.
into like American Ninja Warrior stuff. I'm like, you
Right.
know what? We could we could get us a climbing I think it's I don't even know if it's a technical term, right? The climbing rack, it's just got all the little different finger holes and you just hang
Is
there.
this a
Well,
hanging board is what it is?
hanging board. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
hanging
that's what you
board.
need.
So
Yeah.
I put one in my wish list for Christmas. We'll see. We'll see if
That's
someone brings it
awesome.
to me. um, all right, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Homeschooling mom who rock climbs, mountain bikes, and
Oh.
invest in real estate. That's pretty awesome. All right, so you were an elementary teacher once. What's harder? And you were a realtor too, right? You've been a
Yeah.
realtor. So what's harder, teaching elementary school or dealing with prospective buyers as a realtor?
Oh, buyers as a realtor, they're, everybody, they all have their little spots, you know.
I didn't think you would. I thought I
You
told you
gotta,
earlier before we started recording. I was like, you just come across as just a pure, passionate, compassionate person for others, and that right there is what I'm talking about. Like I would have said, no way in heck am I going to ever teach kids again. Man, those are straight from the devil. Uh, they made me drink every night, blah blah blah. And you're like, well, everybody is so there
I don't
again.
mean to
That's
be wishy washy, but I mean, it's just like your 6 year old
I don't think
versus
you
your
are.
1 year old. They get
Yeah.
they get their, they have their strengths. Like, okay, I like this about the age 6, and and you with your kids, and you're like, and the one this part's great, and these are the challenging parts. Like every part of life presents a challenge. That's
Yeah.
just part of life. And so
Every
you
chapter is fun too, right?
exactly. So you look at the fun part of working with first time buyers and you're like, oh, babysit you. And then
So you have a lot of patience.
you think about, working with sellers that want to sell overpriced, and you're like, oh gosh, get off your box.
Yeah.
I actually saved before the last crash. I probably saved 100,000 for somebody just by
Oh
pushing
wow.
them. And I'm not a pushy kind of person in general. but you could see something was going to happen because, you watch the market trends, and I just pushed them. We finally got an offer. We had been dropping the price, and because they were priced too high to begin with, and I just went to, I'm like, and I was firm. I used like a firm voice, and I just like, you really need to accept this offer. Like, and sure enough, like one of those things, everything crashed. Like, I can sleep well at night knowing that I did my job. But the kids that, like, when you're working in an elementary setting, like knowing that you get to be part, and I got to teach kids how to read, that's going to be a strength they have for the rest of their life. And
Yeah.
I did a ton of mindset work. So like I always go back and forth between being like super and this will sound funny to some people. My mom was a teacher, an educator. My dad was a residential realtor, as well as my grandpa, and everyone's involved in real estate somehow. And so I just
It's
like
funny.
intersect both of their lives,
Yeah.
and weave them in, all that to say, now it's my turn to lose my train of thought, Jay. But
The
I
question
know.
was,
I was going to say
okay.
mindset. So this last time I was in the public ed classroom, I really pushed mindset. And
Mm,
that was, I think, probably the best thing. I feel so confident in what I gave those young children. Like, they're 8 years old when I had them, and to teach them that, to redefine failure from the very beginning, to hear kids cheer each other on and say, hey, don't worry, you haven't failed, you're still trying. Like, to
yeah.
hear that kind of conversation taking place, and to know that maybe this can continue on. Maybe this can be part of what's woven into their fiber, so that they're willing to take
Yeah.
the risks to become the best them possible. Yeah.
The positive reinforcement, right? That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Um, so I was late because Zoom was acting up, and you said, well, I'm glad because was having these thoughts about a mindset episode I want to do for your podcast. Ask me how I know, right? Which I love the name of that. And then you got into this. I was listening to my mindset playlist. I'm curious,
Right.
what is on your mindset playlist?
Right. I think everyone needs to do this. I was thinking, I'm not on Spotify actively, but I was thinking I'd go create a playlist on Spotify that people could go and download. And I think everyone should have that playlist that centers their mind. So for me, I have a real strong focus on my faith, but there are
Hmm.
lots of things that feed into that. And I just find songs. So like literally, I'll pull up my playlist real fast. One of these songs came up. My son and I were driving home last night, and I'm like, "Whoa, will you put that on on?" It's called "Mom's Mindset" is the name of the
That's awesome.
playlist. So it's really eclectic. You asked. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
based on at all on musical quality. So I'm just gonna go there and say like, I don't have any Britney Spears on there, but
Dang it.
I was just gonna say, I do have Shakira. I don't even know if that's how you say it, but she has a song from Zootopia called "Try Everything." She's like, I'm going to
Yeah.
try,
Very
even if
familiar with
I'm
that
going
song.
to fail, I'm going to try. And then if I fail, I'll just get up and I'll try back again. So you find songs that resonate with maybe some of those mental battles that you're
Mm-hmm.
facing, and then you find those songs that kind of combat it. One of my favorite songs, and my daughter sings it, like we'll be in the car and she'll put it on, but it's just talking about shining. And it's like, I just want to shine. I want to get to the top of the mountain type, and I just want to shine. Who is that? That's by, I don't even know where it is, but it's, my encouragement to everybody is like, you find songs that speak to you and keep you motivated and keep you on your path. And,
Yes.
and that if you hit, not if, when you hit those days or those moments where you start getting into your head, like when you get off this podcast and you're going to be like, oh, should I have said that? Oh, Jay, sorry.
That's okay.
There we go. So, then you can go back to that playlist and just kind of flesh out your mind and clear it out a little bit. So, I think one of my favorites though is that Shine, Courage to Change by Sia. I don't even know, but that's a cool song because it just talks about, I have the courage to change, like just as a person.
Mm,
Like, and I think a lot of people have to have courage. I do have to have courage to become the next version of myself. And if you're staying the same version of yourself, you're not being you. Like,
that's
nobody's
true.
supposed
That
to
is
stay,
true.
you're not supposed to stay the same person, but
Wow.
to evolve into the next like 2.0 version, you have to be
That's
courageous to let go of some of the comfort.
Yeah, if you're not changing, you're not being you. That's pretty powerful stuff right there. I At one point in time, I kept up with this. I don't anymore. Just I don't hardly even know what day it is since I left the W2 world, which is incredible. But I
Isn't
would
that
say, okay,
great?
this yeah, it is. Um, I would say, okay, this is year 41, or this is version no, year 41 version, whatever the day of the year is. And that's my version number, right? And tomorrow I'll be a
Oh,
different
I
version.
love that.
And so this is like version 41 dot whatever, whatever the day is. I don't know where we're at on the calendar year, but um it is November. I know Thanksgiving's right around the
It's
corner.
300 and 40 something or 50 something, right? I don't know.
But it would have to be from my birthday until
Oh,
now.
oh,
So,
right.
and
That's
I wasn't
so
born on January
cool.
1st. So, uh, I was trying to look up, are you familiar with Aubrey Marcus?
No, I'm not, but I'm going to jot that name down.
So he talks a lot about mindset and kind of unlocking your brain. He's now, I'm going to warn you, he is way out there on some of the stuff he talks about and some of the stuff he does. Like it's like he will openly say that he goes and trips on acid, so he will have these visions of what he needs to do next. Like he's out there. Like he's
There
like
are a
if
lot
you
of people that do psychedelics in the mindset space to get to open.
they
I
do. And
understand what you're saying.
bold move. It seems to be working for him. It'll never happen for me. I'm not that guy. But he talks. There's some music that he talks about. I can't. It talks about how it's supposed to unlock the mind and put you in this different mindset. And I tried to Google it, but I'm totally butchering it here. But um, I was curious if you had heard of any of that, if you had tried any of it. I've tried listening to the stuff, and it's supposed to be very motivational, and there's no words. It's just music that taps into different sound waves and whatnot. Didn't work on me. This thing's hard as a rock. So
I haven't heard of that. So, but maybe I should look into it. I have some quiet music that doesn't have any lyrics,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not. It's more just instrumental music.
Well,
So
tell
that'd
us
be
about that.
interesting.
Ask Me How I Know podcast. Like, what's the wildest topic that you've covered so far?
Wow. You know what? One of the top episodes, and I think it was just so fantastic. It's funny. I'm talking to him again tomorrow. Isaac Schwaddle, and he is an insurance broker in New York.
Okay.
And we recorded during the hurricane that they had randomly over the
Yeah.
summer,
Oh
right?
yeah. I
And
forgot about that. There's
yeah,
been so many weird things. Like we're on hurricane number 4 here in the Florida Panhandle for the year. Like the next one that comes through, which it almost did, we've been number 4. And like, there's just been so much stuff that's happened this year. It's been wild. Anyway, I
yeah, it's been
interrupted
a
you.
fun year.
Please.
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, honestly, I feel blessed, probably like you, where it's like, I just have these amazing guests who are willing to just open up their world. So I think having Isaac on there and some of the things that he was able, like the insights and like talking about dog attacks on properties and like real life scenarios that a lot of people don't think about, that was super fun. I got to have Gino on there, Barbero, and he's powerful. His mindset. I've always enjoyed listening to Jake and Gino, Wheelbarrow
Yeah.
Profits, but like just his mindset, I felt just in the presence of like this mindset guru, and that was super duper fun. Honestly, I could just go on. I've had so many amazing guests, and I think the best part about it is the part, as you might agree, that part before and after recording where you had these other
It's where the
conversations,
best
and
stuff happens. It's
it's a treasure. So if you haven't been on a podcast yet, you need to go hop over onto a podcast so that you can have one of these great
yeah.
conversations.
I think you and I are going to have one when we hang out. We got some talk about business afterwards. So at least I hope it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The podcast, so I love it because I have the mindset. I believe so much that you can't become the best any part of you if you have a mind that's in the tank. And so for me, dedicating Mondays to that Monday mindset episode, so it's just short and sweet, and people can just like start their week with an intention. Because if you just do that every single week, I'm sorry, I thought I put my notifications off and
That's all
they're
right.
like chiming through. And
I
then
thought it was
Thursday,
mine, so it's fine.
okay, shoot, I could have gotten away with
You
it.
could.
I'm just not like that. Bummer. But high level of personal accountability here. And then on Thursdays, having those interviews released. And the idea is just to talk about different things that people have worked through, in a similar way to what you do. It's like, how have you
Yeah,
become what you've become? Because everybody's just a normal person. And
it
if
is.
they can do
It
it,
is.
you can do it. And it's kind of talk about some of the demons that they had to conquer and some of the challenges they overcame. And I love
Yeah.
it.
I had somebody recently in the mastermind. I was asking them some feedback on something, and they just offered. They're like, the reason I'm in the mastermind is because you just seem like you're a normal guy, and I'm like, thank you. I am a normal guy. What do you mean? Like, I don't understand. Maybe I just have the confidence to get behind the microphone. I don't understand what you mean. We're all normal. So I figured it out. It's binaural beats,
Oh yeah.
BINAURAL beats. That's what I could not remember. It's gonna drive me crazy.
I'm glad you remember that. Yeah, now that you say that, I have heard. I listened.
Binaural. I don't even know how to say it, but it's just basically for brain health and brain. People use it in meditation and whatnot. It didn't work for me. I don't know.
I
Um,
think when you talk about people saying, "Oh, you're normal," I think that we need more people that are willing to just step out there. And a lot of times it is just a matter of, and that's what, I don't know what gives you the confidence or what gave you the impetus to be able to do what you do with your mastermind group and your podcast and all the other awesome things that you are going about. But for me, I recognize that I'm just like a slight iteration or maybe more. The differences between people really aren't that significant. And so if I feel a certain way, more than likely I represent a certain demographic in the
yep.
world, and I will be able to reach them and honestly, like, just be a voice for them. And that helps them go deeper into their own life because
Yeah,
somebody else is saying it. Sometimes we have to have someone else say it for us.
that's true.
So
That
that's
is
probably
definitely
what you
true.
did for that guy. I know.
Hopefully
So
so.
cool.
um, what is seasonal affective disorder? And this is you said that you mentioned this in a post you did on LinkedIn, which you're very active on LinkedIn. So I'm going to recommend anybody who's hearing this connect with Julie. I'll put her link to her profile in the show notes. But what is that?
Yeah,
Because when
see,
I watched this video, I was like, okay, this lady is
oh,
truly passionate about helping other people. And you ended it with just be a dispenser of kindness. And I was like, I am probably the opposite of dispenser of kindness. Like that's but what is seasonal affective disorder? What
I'm
is
gonna
that?
I'm gonna start by saying I need a mug that says dispenser of kindness, because
You do,
then it
you
will
do.
remind me to be a dispenser of kindness, or a Pez dispenser that just has a capital K. I don't
There you
know.
go.
Right,
We need
right.
those
So
reminders, right?
I have to have reminders. I have a reminder, by the way, on my phone that goes off like multiple times a day with different things to remind me, like, ask yourself good
Oh wow.
questions, Julie. Literally, it reminds me, ask yourself good questions, or it reminds me of like affirming traits that I don't feel like I embody that I want to embody. So,
Wow,
and
okay.
actually, kind is one of them, which is really funny, but sometimes you don't believe in yourself.
I want to make sure I understand you. You have an alarm that goes off on your phone that says be kind.
It
No,
yeah,
I love it
yeah, no,
because
I'm serious. It tells me like, hey, now this will make your audience laugh. So I talk about vulnerability. One of my reminders, that I'm personable, I'm fun, I'm bright, I'm sincere, I'm genuine, ambitious, I'm a great leader, an idea machine and thinker, and I can do unstoppable good. Like, I have that go off like 3 times a day,
so
because
you
those
just
things
have
are things that
reminders
I
for
want in my life.
affirmations. Okay.
Yeah. And then I have some other reminders in myself. I think the one I ask myself the most on my little reminder thing is ask myself good questions. Because they're questions that you ask yourself in your head, like, not to harp on EJ, but oh gosh, are they really going to think that I care about my money more than theirs? Like, It's it's it's
It's a
that
good question.
it's no, but it's that question that's like just it's like a washing machine in your head,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not a healthy question. It's not even like
Yeah.
so
Get it
I
out.
have to like ask myself really good questions.
What's the
I
best
totally
question you've ever asked yourself?
the best question is why am I thinking about this? Why am I worrying about this?
Wow. Okay.
What control do I have over this? Those are the really powerful questions for me is
That's cool. That's
do I
really
have
good.
if I don't have control, then forget about it.
Mm, that's awesome. I wish you had a really strong back Boston accent right there, and you could have forget about it. But anyway, that
Yeah.
was horrible.
I might be able to pull that off.
And apparently I can't either. Um,
So
so
seasonal affective disorder.
yep.
Okay. So it's basically I grew up in California. It's sunny, it's great, and a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times people get affected by what's the change in the seasons. A lot of times that happens in the winter months because it's darker and it leads to a lot of depression for a lot
Mm.
of for a certain demographic. I don't know the percentages. I just know that I found out after 3 years living in the inland Pacific Northwest that I was one of those. Lucky me. but and Jay's referencing a post I did. I do this. I think every year now. I talk about winterizing myself and trying to get that message out to others. I think that seasonal affective disorder affects more people and people don't realize that's what's affecting them and that
Mm.
there are ways to help support them so that they can be mentally healthy and continue their momentum that they've had all year. They can continue that. They don't have to stop because they hit this point of sad. So I think it's hilarious that it's called sad, but
It is
um,
the acronym for it is SAD, and it's seasonal affective disorder.
it is. So I mean, for me, it ended up I was if someone listened to the entire so I put a 5-minute clip of an 18-minute podcast episode on LinkedIn, and the whole thing goes into like I was teaching at the time and I just was like sobbing. It's like pitch black at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I
And
hate this. I hate this time of year.
oh gosh. And I didn't even know what was going on. I didn't feel like myself. I'm calling my husband crying and I don't go to doctors and I went to a nurse practitioner and she's like, you just have sad. But it was actually very hopeful. And then she's like,
Yeah.
hey, this vitamin and this happy light. And she's like, who knows if the happy light works or not or doesn't work. She told me that. She's like, nobody really knows. But we both agreed. If it has a placebo effect, great, we won. It doesn't
You just
matter.
want the result. It doesn't
Right,
matter.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a legit result or if it's just a result in my head. It had the right effect.
Yeah. All right. So, three key investments. I've been sitting here looking at your logo and being jealous of your virtual background. I can't have one because it does something weird with my ears, and I just look goofy.
You can grow your
But
hair out.
that's not gonna happen. Yeah.
It's okay.
Nobody wants to see that. Um, Tell me about three key investments. What are you guys up to over there?
Yeah, we are up to acquiring properties, and that's really exciting and a lot of work and exciting underwriting tons of properties. And like we were talking about earlier, waiting for the right opportunity and being responsible. And I feel your pain because I mean, like
Underwriting pain.
somebody's the broker told me just this morning. I'm talking to the broker, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I think this guy's gonna become the next owner of this property." Because I said I'm still like you. I underwrote it, and then I took it to two people because I'm like, I am not. I must be missing something. Somebody else has a LOI, and it's still was that 7 million less. Yeah, like it was like still less than the seller's price, right? So
That's awesome.
it's ridiculous. But yeah, so just working to take down other opportunities. I think one of the things I'm most excited about is unearthing, and this it really mirrors like just my heart in investing from the very beginning of single family, and
Mm,
that is something happens when cities grow. So I live in a small rural North Idaho town, but I've lived in Denver and I grew up in a large suburb in California. And I've watched what happens when things grow really rapidly. And that's happening in one of my favorite markets right now. And what happens is that your workers who just work the minimum wage jobs, they get displaced. And
Hmm.
so I've been having conversations with someone that has a similar heart, but a lot more experience, and trying to come up with kind of the conversation he and I are having is, how can we come up with a formula to create a strategy for cities to implement? And the
Mm,
entrepreneurs like us, we will solve that problem. And if we can partner with cities, right, then we can actually implement a strategy and create quality housing, because I don't believe in slumlord housing ever. Um,
yeah.
and so creating quality housing to care for residents so
Hmm.
that everyone, so that people can still live there.
Yeah. That's
So that's
interesting.
like like a huge mission in a sense. It's like
That's
a
the big
quest
thing.
of mine.
That's one of the big ones. All right.
That's one of my ultimate goals, is to kind of crack that code.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
yeah.
I have not heard that before. And personally, I try to run away from the government as much as possible and do them. So, but
I'm
that's
with
good.
you on that, but and I'm not into politics, but if it can help, if going that route and learning those ropes without doing lie tech and without encumbering the property with a bunch of other banners, if you will, like we don't want to do that. Finding another way to
Yeah.
partner with cities so that it works,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what it is. It's not something we're going to solve overnight,
Yeah.
but it's something that's really exciting and people need it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I don't know what to say about
Yeah,
that.
I
That's
know.
incredible. I don't even, because here's the engineer, computer science part of my brain start. Okay, how do you do, like, what's the next step? What should you be doing next? What should be focused on? Like trying to put all this, like your husband, who's the operational guy, right? And he like, it just starts clicking, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're having a conversation. We're just talking about this. So sorry, I kind of went blank there for a minute.
No, it's
Um,
totally fine. It's new, it's innovative, and it's what a lot of people don't want to touch because
yeah.
honestly, I don't really, you're going to end up working with a demographic that if things got shut down again, they're not going to have a job necessarily.
Hmm.
Some of them would be essential workers because you have grocery stores still and such, but
Right.
there is a risk in it, but those
Yeah.
people need people and they need housing.
I like that. That's good stuff. One thing I also just realized is we are way over on time. Like,
Oh my
I know
gosh.
you asked me before, hey, how long are we going to go? And I said, about 45 minutes, and we're an hour and 20 in. So
What? Nobody's going to listen to this. Oh my gosh.
everybody's going to listen to this. It's going to be the most popular episode ever. I will say today, the best ever. I mean, so far. I was going to wait and say off air because I didn't want to make anybody mad, but who's been on here before. But I honestly, I've enjoyed the conversation. I felt like it's been very transparent. I have three questions for you.
Okay, I'll
They're
be
just quick.
fast.
They're quick questions. They're random as can be.
Okay.
Um, and I'll spit them at you and we'll see where we go from there. And then we'll
Okay.
wrap up. Does that sound good?
Okay.
I
Sounds
don't even
great.
know. This is a new like segment. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I don't know. Maybe it's just like, I don't know. I got to come up with something that's
We'll talk.
anyway.
We'll work on that.
Okay. All right.
Remember, one
So,
of my affirmations is idea, generator of ideas.
okay. All right. All right. Idea generator. Here we go. Question number one. What law, I know we were not talking about politics before at all, but what law do you think should be more of a personal choice instead of a law?
Oh, this is gonna really not. It's not going to be politically correct.
I don't care.
If it's a personal choice, I'm just letting you know. I might. People might not like me after this. Drugs. Oh, I'm just lost. Like people are not going to like me.
So,
There's this whole little group of things where I'm just like, you know what? We can't control everybody.
yeah.
I don't like the other things that come in with that. And so that's why I have friends and we've had a lot of discussions philosophically on this. So
Yeah.
I do hear everybody. Okay, listeners, I hear you. Audience, I hear you. But
Well,
that's my off the
Oregon's
cuff.
taken a step toward that way too, right? In this last election, they legalized a lot of stuff. I don't know. Like I think meth and like some hardcore stuff. They legalized it. I
It's
don't know what that means,
terrifying.
but
It's terrifying to think that people can do that, but people do
I
it
think
anyway.
marijuana is fine. I think marijuana is fine. If it was legal in Florida, I probably would. I, my wife probably wouldn't like it, so I probably would not actually. Let me backtrack there. All right.
Yeah.
So
Honey, don't listen to this episode.
don't I don't think she listens.
It's
Does
a,
your husband listen to yours?
I was gonna say no. Every once in a
No.
while, I'll send him an episode, and I'm just like, you really need to listen to this episode. It was so good.
Yeah. No, yeah. I will, a matter of fact, I'll go to her phone. I'm like, you're killing my downloads. You're not downloading the things on your phone. She was like, what are you talking
Right.
about? I was like, I host a podcast. She goes, oh yeah.
Oh, you do? What?
No.
That's why you need it quiet in the house every week at whatever
Yeah,
time?
yeah. All right, question number 2. What is one thing you think every human being should learn how to do?
Oh, think.
Mm,
No joke. Thinking is completely underrated, and people think that they can just naturally do it. And thinking is hard. I'm sorry, I don't like that word. It's challenging, it's tiring, and it's rigorous. True thinking. And I
mm-hmm.
think our world would be in a very different place right now if people understood how to actually think.
Like it. Love it. Okay. Last one. What is the weird, you've been in a lot of homes, you're a realtor, you're an
Oh
investor.
gosh.
What is the weirdest thing that you've ever seen in someone's home, someone else's home?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me go with just craziest experience, and it's really brief. I was showing property to this couple, and it was a home. It was during the last recession, and we go in, we go upstairs, and there are squatters up there. And that was, I had to like really
Wow.
take a deep breath in and stand tall and like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm a strong person, but I mean, if somebody wanted to take me down, I mean, like they could. So,
Right.
it was a little nerve wracking, but the people did leave when I asked and everything, but that was wild.
That would, yeah, that would
Wild.
rock me a little bit.
Yeah,
That's
that
pretty
rocked me
weird.
for a while afterwards.
Yeah, you started going to showings with a firearm at your side at that point in time,
I
or you
I
already
won't
did.
I won't lie. I did get a concealed carry in California after that.
You should. You should. I think
I
everybody
did.
should.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a smart move on my part, I think.
absolutely. I mean, you walk into that. I mean, the very first time I bought a gun was when I was living in college. Came home from class, and our back door, somebody had tried to kick it down. I'm like, we don't live in a bad part of town. What the heck had just happened?
Right.
But anyway,
That's terrifying. Okay, that would be a lot I would absolutely change. I would
yeah.
change a lot of the gun laws. I live in a place where people
Okay.
carry all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's
I carry
and we have
most of the
very
time.
low crime. Very, very low crime where I live.
There's a correlating factor to I mean, there's a connection there for some reason. So,
Imagine
uh,
that.
Julie, I have enjoyed talking with you. I would love to do it again. So let's connect and see how we can do it again and when we can do it again. But how can people, if they're listening to this, are interested in what you're saying and what you're doing, how can they connect with you?
Please connect with me over on LinkedIn. Like Jay already mentioned, I love LinkedIn. It's super fun. If you're not over there and you're listening, find me on Facebook. So I'm on those 2 social media platforms, and check out Ask Me How I Know. And you might love it, you might hate it, but you'll never know if you don't try.
I like it. I like it. Julie, thank you very much again. I love this episode. I really think that I'm going to throw a challenge out there to all the previous guests who are listening to this. You've been outdone. You have,
Oh
Julie, this
gosh,
episode is going to be
hardly.
the best. And you've turned red. I didn't mean to
I
embarrass
know
you.
you just amazing.
And you didn't even want to come on here. I think this has been the best episode yet. So thank
Wow.
you for
Well,
being here
I'm really humbled.
and
I
sharing
appreciate
your
it.
knowledge with us. So
Thanks for giving me the latitude to come on. You made it very friendly. You're like, no, come on, it's going to be great. We're going to
this is
have a
going to be
good
great. I
time.
told you it was going to be great. I think it's
Yeah,
going to be great. So, all
that's great. Awesome.
right, Julie, I will talk with you later.
All right, thanks, Jay.
Bye. That was it. That is the best show we've had. Is this show like episode number 130 something? I don't even know. Super excited. Here's what I recommend as next ups. Number one, follow Julie. She's on LinkedIn. Link is going to be in the bio or in the description below. Number two, give me a thumbs up if you really like the show. Give me a thumbs down if you don't think it's the best show that we've had so far. Disclaimer, you have to have watched at least 5 of the most popular interviews before you vote, right? So if you haven't done that, go to this one right here. These are the most popular episodes right here.